Well, hello and welcome to the Wine Access Unfiltered podcast. It is a very special episode because I am here at the Napa Valley Barrel Auction. This is a once-a-year event that happens right here in Napa Valley in St. Helena at beautiful Hall Winery, where I am surrounded by people from all over the world and our friends, the winemakers from all of your favorite wineries around the region. So today what we're gonna do is take a little break from our regular format, and we're gonna do something a little bit different because I thought it was the perfect opportunity to hear some stories from some of these people. Now, I mentioned that we are right here at Hall, which is next door to Press, where I started honing my craft, learning all the ins and outs of being a somm, and working with my favorite people in the Valley. And it was here that I really discovered my passion for wine and the thing that has really continued to tie me to wine, which is hearing everyone's stories. And that's what we're gonna focus on today. I'm sure it's no surprise to many of you that we all sort of arrived here in different ways, different paths, different people. This is a place where some of us came from winemaking families, but a lot of us didn't. And so along the way, we've all had those aha moments, those moments of clarity where things just click. Something happens and your life is never the same. And somehow you find yourself making wine or working in wine or doing what I'm doing, hosting a wine podcast. So I'm going to be talking to 5 vintners and winemakers here today and asking them what their aha moment was. What was that bottle, that conversation, that light bulb moment for them that got them to where they are today. And I think this is the perfect place to do that because here we are at the pinnacle of the season, just before harvest, coming here together to celebrate this beautiful place. Now, before we get started, there is, of course, a wine that corresponds with this episode, you guys. It's the Unfiltered Podcast Wine Club wine that I'm sure you're all dying to know. How does this tie into an episode featuring Napa Valley winemakers? Well, the answer is simple because I also have my own little aha moment. And this was something that wasn't a bottle. It wasn't really even a conversation. It was actually a trip. It was my very first trip to Europe in a wine capacity. I really hadn't spent much time there. I was in my early 20s, but I had gotten a scholarship to the Languedoc region, which is in the south of France. It's a beautiful place. And for me, it was really formative. It was the moment where things started to make a little bit more sense and wine became much more than just fermented grape juice. It became something that meant something to me. It gave me a moment of pause. It gave me an idea of what the culture was like. It gave me this feeling that I belonged somewhere and I wanted to be part of this community. And all of that happened right in that place. And so the wine we're drinking today is an older bottle. It's a 2016 Domaine de Baronarques. This is what's in my glass right now, and hopefully you guys have it at home. This is a beautiful blend of a wine that's really representative of this region. And if you smell the wine, you'll notice something really distinct about it, which is lots of these beautiful garriques, these herbes de Provence, this lavender. And if you've been to the region like I have, you know that when you walk around this place, you are just surrounded by all of this lavender, all of these wildflowers. But more importantly, and this is really what solidified it for me and why it was such a formative moment in my career, there was just this sense of ease. There was this sense of relaxation, and that's really what these wines represent. The wines of the Languedoc are beautiful wines, but they're wines that are meant to go with the people who are enjoying them. They're wines that are meant to pair with the food that they're enjoying, which is usually over open flame, usually vegetables, lots of protein, and that's what you want to be thinking about when you're drinking this wine. It's a summertime wine. It's a warm weather wine. We don't think of red wine so much when we think of summer, but this is sort of the exception. So as you're drinking this wine, I would love for you to get outside, enjoy the fresh air, put something on the grill, whether it's vegetables or meat, whatever you've got, and just sit and relax and think about the most transformative place you possibly can. For me, that was the Languedoc, but for you, maybe it's somewhere else. So this is the wine that brought me back to that moment, but maybe there's a moment for you, and if there is, I would love to know what that is. Put it in the comments, write us a review, or send us a message on Instagram. Enjoy this wine and enjoy this show. All right, you guys, I have my first guest with me here at the Napa Valley Barrel Auction. I'm super excited because Molly and I have known each other for several years. Somehow I've never sat down with you for a little chat, but I think that you come the furthest from where you originated than everyone else.
Yeah, that's probably true. I am from Melbourne, Australia.
Yes.
We met in 2018, I think.
Is that
2019. True? Yeah, I was an intern at Spottswoode in 2018, and then they just could never get rid of me. So I think we may have met in 19, actually, once I was a full-time winemaking team member. But yeah, I've been here for a while now. It goes quickly.
Yeah, and at one of the most prestigious estates in Napa Valley. I know you work there, so you're like, I can't say, but like, shake your head, we know. It's a good one.
It's a beautiful, I mean, honestly, more than that, it's just like one of the more authentic places that I've ever been, like run by Beth, obviously, who's so like mission driven and so aligned with the things that she says and then the things that she does. So like the reputation piece is obviously, and the wine quality is a win and a bonus, but it's like the spirit of that place is super special.
It's the most special. I was lucky to live around the corner from there for many years, and it still is like the place that I run by in the morning, and it's just so special.
There's that special smell too around that vineyard.
I know. You know, Spottswoode is one of those wines that I'm not the best wine taster in the world, but I always feel like I can pick it out of a lineup.
It's called for sure. That like lavender, like slightly resinous piece that like smells like the corner of Hudson and Madrona.
Yes.
I swear is in that wine for sure. Yeah.
Well, the wine that everyone is drinking with us who's listening, who's a member of the wine club, is actually from the Languedoc. And it reminds me sometimes of the Languedoc because you get so many of those like aromatic, lavender, Gallica kind of flavors and aromatics.
So pretty.
Yeah,
love
so
it.
pretty.
Yeah.
So we are talking to everyone about their sort of moment. Sometimes, you know, we call it an aha moment, and like for some people that's a bottle, for some people it's like a class, but like that moment in your career, and I will add that like for those who are not watching, Molly is on the younger side of things.
True.
So I think, you know, for people listening, this is going to be really a fun story to listen to you because you haven't had that long of a journey yet, and you did arrive here from a pretty far distance.
Yeah.
So what was that moment for you?
Yeah, it's so funny. So I, am young. I'm 32 and have only been here in Napa for coming on 7 years now. But I grew up in a wine drinking family. So an embarrassingly young age, I was introduced to wine.
Can you say which age?
I mean, I've been tasting since I can remember. Like my dad used to blind taste me when I was like 10. Like I would not drink a glass of wine, but he would, whatever they were drinking, like he would give it to me and be like, you know, it was obviously options, like is this Cabernet, is this Syrah, is this Pinot kind of thing. But like I've been doing that since I can remember.
So good.
I blind tasted, anyway, I actually won't even go into that because I was 8 and it was embarrassing. But I've had so many like special moments, I think. I was thinking about this question and it's like, of course you have the first time you taste like a La Tâche, right? Or like a first time that you taste one of those wines that you feel like you may never have access to and you think about and you read about and then you taste them. And I had a 96 La Tâche was my first La Tâche when I think I was 19. And I still have the handwritten tasting note from my father because he and I both wrote tasting notes on it. We were in Palma and had a beautiful dinner with some friends that evening. Like that's one of those wines for sure. But I feel like that's an obvious like aha wine. Yeah. Like the more special one, honestly, which I kind of on purpose want to introduce a more accessible aha wine because like, yeah, sure, like the O2 Salon or like the 96 Domaine or the 96 La Tâche or whatever. Like,
those are the ones that like we wait our entire lives for.
Like,
right.
And they're special and like they're moments in themselves for sure. But I think the thing I love most about wine is the connection to people and family. And so my aha wine moment actually came from my grandmother's favourite wine. Every Friday back in Australia, I would go to my grandmother's house and all the ladies in the family would go and have this German sect called Henkel.
Oh,
it's not do you know Henkel?
I know Henkel, yes.
$14 a bottle. It's not a fancy wine.
But it's delicious.
It's super crisp. It's delicious. And that was my grandmother's like favourite thing. And like
grandma.
my job in the family was to open the Henkel for everyone and pour it since I was like 12. And fast forward, my grandmother passed when I can't remember, it was in 2016 and I'd moved to China. So I was living in China at the time. And my parents, as one does, it's a little side story for another time. But and my parents and I decided to get onto what was Skype at the time, because it was pre-COVID and Zoom didn't exist, but we were on Skype and we decided to get some sparkling wine and do a cheers to her. It was her birthday, her first birthday since she'd passed. And I was in Nanjing at the time at a university, and I'd seen that a wine store was being built across the street and it was opening on my grandmother's birthday. And I was like, oh, that's like fun. I'll pop in there and I will get a bottle of whatever bubbles they've got. I had very low expectations for what was accessible there, and I walk in there on my grandmother's birthday, her first birthday since she'd passed, and there was like a pyramid of Henkel.
Stop it.
I'm kid you not. And I literally was like covered in goosebumps. I was like, oh my God. Okay, so I bought a bottle of Henkel and I took it back to this apartment in China. I could not be possibly further from home or further from my family at the time. And like the second I opened it, I like just cried because the smell, I was 13 in my grandmother's kitchen again. And like, I think I'd already had so many like special wine aha moments by that point. Like I was already on my journey of, I'd finished my winemaking degree. I'd had all the special ones already at that point, and it was like a really beautiful reminder as to like why we love wine and why we do what we do, is like the connection and the emotion and like how much you can be anchored to people or a place through senses. And I literally like have never had a more, I'm like getting emotional talking about it because it's like
same.
She was like my best friend, and it was just one of those really beautiful moments where it's like it doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be this like crazy out of this world inaccessible wine for it to be special and for it to mean something to you. And it was like when you asked me, I was like, that's my most emotive, like connected kind of like aha wine story of like how special it is to produce something that can create those connections with people and those memories. So,
and they're so lasting. Like it's funny because I think you sort of implant these memories in your brain subconsciously, and then for whatever reason, wine just has the ability to like suck them out of us when we least expect it.
Totally.
And I love that as a winemaker, you appreciate that, because I think sometimes we get so in the weeds with talking about tech notes and the terroir, and like those things are all important, but stories like this that connect us to the wine and to the people that inspired us to get into this business, like that at the end of the day is what gets you up in the morning.
100%. Yeah, no, for sure. Anyway, that's my little...
I love it. No, what a way to like kick it off. I couldn't be more grateful that you have trusted us with this story.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Literally, I'm sure if like I'm sitting here with goosebumps, I'm sure everyone listening is like sitting with goosebumps as well. But I love that a $14 bottle of Henkel,
and that's just it. I just think for people, it's like I never want to get disenfranchised with the level of wines that we taste on a regular basis. And we're so lucky, particularly here, coming from Australia, like the accessibility to really great international wines. And so, there's a million of those, right? And like every week you have something that you're like, oh wow, this is super interesting. Or like you can have your winemaker hat on and as to why it's special. But at the end of the day, it's people and it's connection and memory and all of those things. So
the real question is, do you still drink Henkel?
I do when I go home, to be honest. I do not in my general life, but my aunties and my mum will still drink it. So, yes, when I go home, we open a bottle of Henkel and it tastes the same. It has tasted the same for 30 years now, and it's...
The woman who makes the $200+ bottle of premium Napa Valley Cabernet, so hard to get your hands on, multiple $100
Who's a
wines.
champagne nerd, by the way, and like loves great champagne. But
going home, drinking the Henkel.
That and sparkling red when you go home as well.
I love it. Well, Molly, thank you so much for being with us. Have the best time. I assume you're enjoying yourself thus far.
I certainly am. There's a lot of beautiful wines here. So just trying to keep up.
Well, thank you so much. It's good to see you.
So good to see you.
So one of the things I love so much about the Napa Valley Barrel Auction, and just really any event in Napa, is that you always see your friends. And I'm super excited because I get to see a friend that I don't get to see so often anymore. But a lot of you will remember her, Vanessa Conlin, our former Wine Access Unfiltered podcast co-host.
Yes, it's so good to see you. And you're so right. I mean, there's amazing wine here to taste. We're all here for a great cause, but getting to catch up with people is top of my list.
I know. Well, welcome home.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back.
Thanks.
I know you've been like on this whirlwind journey, splitting your time so fashionably between Napa and New York. How is life?
I have 2 sets of everything because I'm not good at remembering what I need to take with me.
Yes,
so
thank God for Amazon.
I figured that out. But no, it's good. I'm really happy to be here today on behalf of Sotheby's because we're raising money for the Napa Valley community and specifically for youth mental health.
Yeah.
Which is, so important. And it's a great cause. The energy is wonderful today. The buzz is great. The wines are tasting delicious. So I know it's going to be great, but this is like riding a bike.
I know, feels good.
It feels good. Yeah.
So this is one of these like rare opportunities where people can actually get involved because Premier Napa Valley is for the trade.
Only for the trade, exactly.
And then, traditionally Auction Napa Valley, back when it was Auction Napa Valley, was always at a caliber that was fairly, at a very high caliber.
It was incredible, but yeah, you're right. Yes.
And so this, when they sort of pivoted to this like collective Napa Valley, it feels a little bit more like people can actually get involved.
Yes.
How's the vibe? How are you feeling? Because I know you're involved in tomorrow's festivities and today.
Yes, yeah. So tomorrow's the live auction. Today's the barrel auction. So I will say it's inching back towards the old days in terms of Auction Napa Valley, but to your point, trying to get more people involved. So today we're bidding on barrels of wine. So you get a certain number of cases and you don't have to be in the trade.
Yeah.
And it's a way to have your own specially labeled. It's made only for you, only for this event and labeled for this event. So it's great bragging rights in your cellar. And so you can get involved there. And then tomorrow's the live auction. So we have a group of people in the room, but then you can also bid online at Sotheby's.com, and there's the fund a need at the end, which means if you don't have the means to buy one of the big lots, you can raise your paddle for $100 if you want, just to get involved.
Support the cause, which is great. And I'm sure you've been tasting around. I know we don't like to play favorites, but any standouts?
Okay, so not just because they're hosting today, but the Hall lot is great. Yeah. And I also really like, there's a surprise lot to me, which was Mabon, which is made by the Hourglass team. Oh. So Hourglass is a wonderful winery. They're up in Calistoga. Jeff Smith is the proprietor and his wife Carolyn. Tony Biaggi makes the wines. Yeah. So they have an Hourglass lot and they had this other lot called Mabon. So he explained to me, he is literally a rock star. He fronted an indie band in the 80s and still has a band called Wrist Rocket, which is playing 2 o'clock if you'd like to take a little breather.
You can actually see the stage behind us right now.
Right behind us. So Mabon is an annual sort of mini festival that he throws at Hourglass where Wrist Rocket plays. He's having Chevy Metal play this year, but it's kind of a harvest celebration, but it's a rock celebration. It's a music festival. So they made a specific wine called Mabon that they're actually auctioning as part of the, and it's delicious.
Okay.
It's Hudson fruit, which we all love, Hudson Vineyard. So I would say if you haven't tasted it, that's definitely worth a try.
I will definitely get out there and do that. I also know there's like plenty of food out there as well. Are you having fun being in Napa and New York? And can you offer some recommendations on places to drink in New York right now?
To answer your question, I'm very happy though to be back in Napa. I've lived here since 2010 and this is really my home. So I love it here. Let's see, I went to Cafe Carmelini recently, which is kind of getting a lot of buzz. Beautiful room in New York. I also just recently went to the Tin Building. Do you know this? It's a Jean-Georges concept. It's down by the seaport, but it's like basically one big building and you can have sushi, you could go get a taco, there's a speakeasy, but so you can kind of wander around and spend a whole day if you want to do that. And then of course, just a short walk from there is Harry's Bar, which is great if you want a little martini refresher.
I didn't know that the original Harry's in Venice was who invented the Bellini. Did you know this?
No, I did not know that.
Such a fun,
I did not know this.
Our hotel was literally next door, and they were like, "Yeah, we invented the Bellini." I'm like, "Oh, who knew?"
All right, I learned something. Yeah.
Always bringing the education of the podcast, the necessary things. I'm so happy to have you. I'm so happy for you in general. We miss you so much. But,
I miss you too. But here we are.
Here we are.
It's like,
we get to, reunite in Napa.
I remember this. We used words. We talked to each other.
There was a lot of champagne and drinking promiscuously. It was a good time.
Yes, it was a good time.
Yeah.
Still is.
Always.
So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. It's
for
so
having
good
me.
to see you. Have fun and break a leg with all the things that you're doing.
Yay, thank you.
Knock it out of the park as usual.
Thank you. It's for the youth.
It's for the youth. The youth.
The youth.
Yeah. All right.
All
right, you guys, it is definitely a party at the Napa Valley Barrel Auction today. So I just popped out of the podcast studio. Forgive the audio, but I wanted to give you a little sense of what is going on here today. We are welcomed here by beautiful Hall Winery in St. Helena, who is hosting the barrel auction this year. The venue changes every year, but I have to say this one is pretty spectacular. As we head inside, you'll find yourself in the epicenter of the winery, which is filled with winemakers and attendees eager to taste the lots like this one from our upcoming guest, John Williams from Frog's Leap. Bidding screens are live, so you can keep an eye on things because it is easy to get distracted when you have views like this. That's the Mayacamas range you're seeing there in the background on this very beautiful day in Napa Valley. And of course, outside, we've got plenty to do, friends to see. Hey guys! We'll have live performances coming up. And of course, it is Napa Valley, so there is a copious amount of relaxation and delicious food. We have restaurants here from all over the valley representing with their signature dishes. Of course, Ad Hoc doing a fried chicken sandwich, and no surprise, a little bit more wine. All right, let's give you a little preview of the band Wrist Rocket headed by Jeff Smith from Hourglass, and let's get back to the show. All right, you guys, the Napa Valley Barrel Auction is still going strong. And of course, I've mentioned that there are so many people here that we love to see at these events. And one of them is with me right now. How are you, Doug?
I'm great, Amanda. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Doug Shafer of Shafer Vineyards. You have a long history in Napa Valley. I love that this place sort of brings everybody together though, and we all kind of arrived here in different ways, but we're talking aha moments. And I know being a second generation Napa Valley vintner, you probably have had a few aha moments across your life.
Well, I have, and that's why it's funny, because full disclosure, Amanda let me know that it was going to be an aha moment.
Yeah.
So I gave it some thought last night. And I immediately go to bottles of wine. Was it that Louis Martini Zinfandel that Dad served us in Chicago before we moved out here? Was it a great bottle of rosé champagne I had with my wife when we got engaged? And all of a sudden I realized, most people have a bottle of wine that was an aha moment. I realized I don't.
Okay.
I never did.
I also don't have one, so that's totally fine.
One. So I'm thinking to myself, I said yes to Amanda, and now I don't have one. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I do have an aha moment.
Okay.
And it's pretty unique.
Okay.
So I grew up in Chicago. My dad was in book publishing, 9 to 5, suit, catching the train from suburban Chicago downtown every day, suit and tie, briefcase, fedora hat, businessman.
Perfect.
Forever. And then he got this crazy idea about the wine business and moved us out to Napa Valley, and promptly went from wearing 3-piece suits every day to being jeans and work shirt and a straw hat and working in the vineyard with a couple guys replaying this vineyard. Okay. Dad's got a new gig.
What's going on?
And I started going to St. Helena High School. I was junior or senior.
That's a big transition at that age.
Big transition. And, living out in the country. And I remember vividly, we'd probably been here 3 or 4 months. Springtime. I'm coming home from school. It's probably 4:30 or 5. It's still light, and I'm driving up this long driveway, which is where the winery is, which is where we lived. That was before the winery was built.
Beautiful driveway.
It is. And I'm driving up, and over on the right side, out in the middle of this vineyard, is my dad on a tractor, this old TD9 Caterpillar, tractor, straw hat. I slow down, just kind of, wave. And he looks over at me and he waves. Amanda, he had the biggest grin on his face. I've never seen the guy so happy in my life. And it was like, wow.
Yeah.
What a difference from catching the train and commuting to Chicago and the rat race thing, that life he had had before. And I got to tell you, I think that's when it started to click, because that's when I started thinking about going to Davis and getting into actually farming more than winemaking, because it's like he was outdoors, he was happy. He's dealing with guys who, their office was their pickup truck, consultants, and that was it. That was my moment. The smile on my dad's face, I'll never forget it.
What a beautiful moment. I mean, truly, we're so lucky to live here, and I think we try not to take that for granted, but you're absolutely right. When you see people who are living and working this business who truly love it,
Right.
there is pure joy that really doesn't exist, I think, quite anywhere else. Have you found that joy for you has been the same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a beautiful place. We're so lucky. And, to be part of growing something and producing wine,
Yeah.
from, growing the grapes to making the wine to then selling it and seeing people enjoy it. I mean, it's the full circle. So it's wonderful.
I love that it also happened at such a formative time in your life,
Yeah.
too, right?
It was big.
Seeing your role model switch gears, switch careers, move to a brand new spot, take a huge risk,
Right.
and having it pay off in that way. I mean, I have to imagine that just, it changes you in more ways than one.
Well, I really appreciate you asking me the question, because that's what I came up with. And it's like, oh my gosh. Well, now I always have the answer. Now I have the answer. But it was wonderful. It was wonderful just kind of realizing that last night. It was like, wow.
Well, I'll let you get back to the vineyard.
Gotta get back to it.
I know there's a lot going on today. Are you having fun tasting, seeing friends? It's a great opportunity.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I mean, you get to see everybody in one place, and then a lot of customers who we see every year come out to this thing, which is wonderful. So lots of old friends.
Well,
It's fun
I
to reconnect.
appreciate you taking the time and coming away from all of that for a moment to share that
it's
story.
my pleasure.
It's a beautiful
Thanks.
story. I mean, we miss your dad. So,
I know.
Yeah. Cheers
All right,
to that.
take care.
Thanks.
We'll see you.
We are back with a man who almost needs no introduction. A man who always made me laugh when he came into press and makes some of my favorite wines in Napa Valley, some of the most long-lived wines in Napa Valley. And as it turns out, my favorite winery in Napa Valley. This is the video that has gone viral 10 times over.
It really has. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing, yeah. Well, welcome, John Williams of Frogsley.
Amanda, so cool to be here with you.
Yeah, we're here at the Barrel Auction.
Oh, I'm
fun.
in, rocking and rolling out there, and then downstairs is a well-manured show.
Yes. Seeing all the people you want to see and otherwise.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I haven't done this in a few years, and I've missed the energy, so it's nice to be back.
It's good to be back. The energy is really good today.
Yeah.
The weather's been great. The venue is beautiful, and it is good to see everyone in one spot, because we're all
Everyone
here
in
for
one spot for a while. Yeah,
for a little
yeah,
bit. But
yeah.
you have been in one spot sort of for a while in Napa Valley. You arrived here many, many years ago, and like so many of us, you weren't born into the wine industry. You kind of fell into it by other means. But what was the aha moment for you that made you think twice about whatever your career was before?
Oh, I have so many, Amanda, as you can imagine, after 50-some years in the wine business. But, and you allude to it, I grew up on my family's dairy farm in Western New York and went to Cornell, learned how to milk cows better, with some hope of being a veterinarian. It turns out you need to be smart to be a veterinarian, so that didn't work out. And in my junior year, and I am going back for my reunion next week. I'm really traumatized about it because it's a big number. But anyway, it was my junior year, and I ran out of money, and so I had to leave school to make money. And the university suggested a work-study program. Now, this is in the Finger Lakes. I don't know if have you ever been to the Finger Lakes?
I'm actually going in a few weeks. I've never been.
Not.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm having a big reunion with some of my buddies back there in a week from Sunday. So if you're there, then let me know. Yeah. Herman Veemer and all those guys.
All right.
But anyway,
so
I get this work-study program through Cornell, and they're assignments to the Taylor Wine Company. This is how old this is all. Back in the early 70s. And I grew up on a farm. Our family didn't drink. I'd never had a glass of wine. And I go over there to check this winery out at the Finger Lakes. The vineyards just cascade down to these beautiful lakes, and then I go into this winery with big tanks of booze and pretty girls giving tours and not a cow in sight. I just go, I'm in. And so,
I'm in.
And I never look back. I mean, literally. And then of course my last year there, I took on spring break. I got the $69 Ameripass on the Greyhound bus and came to Napa Valley. And that was an aha moment. I still have the return ticket. I never even went back to school. I managed to graduate, but Napa called me, and it's been my home all these years now, 50 plus years. So it's unbelievable.
Well, we're happy to have you, but I imagine going from milk to wine, there had to at least be something in there that made you go, maybe I want to drink the juice instead of the milk.
Well, that was a given. But when I got into it, I kind of thought about the winemaking side. I didn't realize that I was trying to get away from farming.
Yeah.
And of course, as you know, farming is everything when it comes
Farming
to grapes.
first.
So I'm still a farmer.
Yeah, and you were actually one of the early ones to start playing around with organics back in the 80s and early 90s.
We certified our vineyard in '89, and so there was not much going on in
You
the
were like a
organic.
hippie back then.
Well, maybe.
We call you crunchy in those days.
My old '69 Chevy pickup. I had a Jerry Garcia shrine on the dashboard,
Nice.
just to give you some idea.
Nice. Is there a bottle or a conversation that you look back to and you're like, that was kind of the moment that I decided that I really want to do this?
There have been a lot of good bottles. I mean, back then when I was poor, you could drink all the great wines in the world because they hadn't gotten into these exorbitant, now I have a little more money, but I can't afford the wines that I used to drink when I was penniless,
Yeah,
basically.
isn't that crazy?
It is. And it's a little sad, but that's a whole nother story. I remember the first time, does the name Dr. Constantine Frank mean anything?
Of course.
To you? Yeah. Well, I got to know him.
Okay.
And shared wine with him. And I mean, here's a guy that came to this country knowing 9 languages, none of them English.
Right.
And he's the one that believed you could plant vinifera in New York State. And I felt like I was part of that. And he literally went mad because no one would listen to him,
Yeah.
And so that's when I realized it's really good to be a little bit crazy in this business.
He kind of gave you a pass, right? Permission to be.
Yeah, he said, "Oh, I want to
yourself.
be as crazy as that guy,"
Yeah.
which I haven't been able to achieve, but I'm still working on it.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? I think people always think that the wine industry is a little bit uptight and it's filled with all the same, buttoned up people, but the reality is like we're all a little nuts in this industry.
We're all a little nuts, yeah.
But no, you're not making any Riesling, are you?
We do.
You do make
Yeah,
Riesling?
well, we call it leapfrog milch. Have you never had that?
I've never had
Yeah,
it.
it's pretty rare. And then we make a little dessert wine called Frog and Baronarques. So you got to get with the program.
Oh,
Yeah,
John,
yeah.
hook a girl up.
We can do it. At the Rossi Ranch, there's just 17 rows of Riesling that were planted back in the 60s sometime, and we just can't bear to take them out. They're sitting on the best Cabernet ground in the world, but we just can't bear to take them out. So
the farmer inside you can't.
Yeah, it's just
can't do it.
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, you know how we feel about grapevines. They're like living sentient beings. They have the same lifespan as humans. They have the same desires, the same wishes in life as we do. How can you can't be cavalier around them. Yeah. So
Let them be happy. Let them do what they want to do and support them.
you know what I realized, and probably why you're having me on the cast, is I'm actually a little bit famous.
Are
And
you?
not for my music, by the way.
Tell me why you're famous.
You've certainly heard of the famous Stag's Leap wine, the 73 Cabernet that won the Paris tasting.
Sure, yeah.
I have heard about it way too much over the 50
bet you
years.
have.
Yeah. Well, my third week on the job, I was first employee at Stag's Leap Wine Cellars. And my third week on the job, we bottled that wine. And my job was to take the bottles out of the box, sparge them with nitrogen, and put them on the line.
Boy.
I am the only person in the world who's touched every single bottle of the most famous wine in California. Give me a 5.
Wow.
So I'm just saying.
John, how did I not know that?
It's a fairly obscure piece of history, I'm afraid to say.
But an important one and a rare one.
Well, can you imagine if I hadn't done my job right?
Can you
the whole
imagine if you had
course.
just taken a few for yourself?
Oh, I might have a couple still. Yeah, they're hard to find anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. What pressure to sparge.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Do you think about that now as you let other employees of your winery sparge the bottles? Like, this wine could be.
We might have a machine that does it now.
You gotta let the machines do a little bit every now and then.
every now and then. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
John, I'll let you get back to the party outside.
Yeah, the
It sounds
party's
like it's
happening. I don't wanna
raging
miss-
with the
yeah.
band going on behind
I
us.
probably have a lot of bottles to sign and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
I saw
yeah.
a line at your booth for sure.
Yeah.
They have you had like T-shirts and like memorabilia.
Blowing balloons up into the air.
I think
and-
there was some like Jerry Garcia
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you should definitely get back to that. Yeah.
It is always so fun to hang with you.
Likewise, thank
All
you for
right.
taking the time.
Thanks, good.
Nice to see you. Are you guys having as much fun as I am right now? This has been such a great, great day. We've been going out, grabbing some food, saying hi to friends, and having the time of our lives. But of course, this is something that you can get in on as well. Vanessa already mentioned that Collective Napa Valley is a great place to support the Napa Valley. So I will link everything below for you. But this is also your opportunity to make sure that you are subscribed to this podcast, that you are supporting this podcast by leaving us a review or a comment. And also, if you are not a member of the Wine Access Unfiltered Podcast Wine Club, well, this is your cue to get on board with that. So go ahead and find everything you need to sign up. Your shipment will contain 4 wines, all selected by me, and they all correspond with an episode of this show. So without any further ado, let's get to our next vintner. All right, you guys, the party continues, and my guest today has been pouring rosé for the very warm guests outside, but you've taken a break to join me in here. How you doing, Rosemary?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the invitation. It's lovely to chat with you today.
Thrilled that you could join Rosemary Cakebread of Gallica Wines, something that I've been a really big fan of. I love that you've had some wonderful ones offered on Wine Access as of late, so thank you for that, and wines that I've enjoyed in my own home on the regular. You've been in the business for a little while.
I have.
And you live in St. Helena, so I have to imagine throughout your life you've had an aha moment or two.
I came to wine on the beautiful California coast at a place called the St. Oars Inn. I was in my 20s, legal enough to drink.
Okay.
And the St. Oars Inn at that time was this farm-to-table restaurant where they grew their own flowers and vegetables. And I had a bottle of 1974 Duckhorn Bocayou. Yeah. And it was magical. It jumped out of the glass, and I thought at that time, I was a young winemaker in Napa Valley, I want to make wines like that. So that was really transformational, and I still remember that. I remember the moment. And
where were you in your journey at that point in terms of winemaking? Who were you working for?
I was in my early 20s, and my very first job in Napa Valley, I worked for Languedoc. And
classic.
I did. Donnie Dyer moved to Domaine Chandon, and I took Donnie Dyer's job. And then, so a job brought me here.
Yeah.
But what's really kept me here is people, community.
Yeah.
So when I came here, I was embraced by a group of women, mostly teachers, who were sort of a quasi-book group / wine tasting group. And that was my beginning community. I met lots of people through them.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, I'm going to call it the Young Winemakers grape grower, farmer, professional wine tasting group, we like to think of we were. And I'm still part of that group 35 years later.
Wow.
You know, so the likes of John Consgard and Donine and Bill, Kathy Corson, to name a few. And so we've been pals, and just grew to really love those guys and great friendships.
And that bottle of Duckhorn Bocayou, was that a moment for you that really solidified wanting to remain in the industry? Had you ever considered?
I never considered leaving,
Okay.
but never. But it was, it sort of fixed. It was like the North Star.
Yeah.
It was the North Star. It was like, if I want to make wines like that, and those wines speak to me.
I think that's a perfect bottle for you. I don't know if have you been to Duckhorn Bocayou?
Yes, it's been a while, but yes, I have.
So you've met Bruno Bory?
Yes.
Like such a...
In my Spottswoode days.
In your Spottswoode days, yes. And we talked to Molly Shepard of Spottswoode earlier, so I love that we're kind of coming full circle. But for those who don't know Duckhorn, Bruno Bory is the proprietor there, vintner there, and he's the ultimate bon vivant. Like one of my very first trips to Europe was to visit him at Duckhorn Bocayou, and he just whipped up the most beautiful, lavish French meal you've ever had. But to me, it was really emblematic of like what we experience here in Napa Valley, which is this idea that wine and food and culture are just so intertwined.
Exactly. And it's really a celebration. It's all about shared experiences and shared moments. And, a simple wine can be just transformational just because of the magic of the moment and people you're with and where you are, and, whether it's a birthday or some sort of a celebration. Those are the most important things to me.
Have you revisited that wine?
I haven't. You know, I actually went online in preparation to see if I could buy a bottle.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody out there,
Okay.
I'm
sure there's a
I would
few
love to
people.
retaste it.
Okay, well, I'm sure there might be some Gallica in it for you if you are someone that has a 74 Du Cru bouquet laying around in your cellar.
I would love to. I would love
Wanna do a
to
little
re-experience it.
Yeah, well, let me know if you have the opportunity. I'll bring the salad.
Would you like to come?
Okay.
We'll do that together.
I would love that. I would love that. Well, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to send you away from the air conditioning back into the heat, but
We got to do our work, right?
I'm sure the
So,
grapes are happy for
anyway,
the warm weather.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being
take
here.
care.
You guys, we are having the best time at the Napa Valley Barrel Auction, and the fun is almost over. But before we bring everything to a close, I had to bring in Renee Airy of Duckhorn. I am so happy to finally meet you in person. This is what I love about events like this. Like all the people that we either know or that like we need to know are just like here, and we can have conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I agree. This is a great event to just like see old connections, make new ones. It's always like such a good energy. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And you've been the winemaker at Duckhorn for how long now?
Since 2014, so head winemaker. Yeah, but I've been there since 2003. So I'm going on like 21 vintages at Duckhorn, which is kind of crazy to think about. I
That is
mean,
crazy.
yeah, time flies, but yeah, it's home away from home. So
Yeah, and such a beloved, classic, iconic brand.
Thank you.
You've done amazing work since you've been there, at least from what I can tell on
Thank you.
the wine drinking side of things. But my research suggests that you were from Houghton Holler, West Virginia. Is that true?
I'm actually from New Jersey.
From New Jersey?
Yeah,
Okay.
New York, New Jersey. Grew up there, lived there till I was 18, and then my whole family moved west.
Okay.
Everybody moved to California. My dad got a job out here, and so he spent a lot of time in California when he was growing up. So I think
Okay.
he was just ready to be done doing like East Coast winter, shoveling snow and whatnot, and like
Yeah.
in California, you can't really go wrong there. So yep, my whole family moved west.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Philly girl myself.
Okay.
So,
all
but on
right.
the
So the
Pennsylvania
East
side.
Coast. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. I always find myself migrating towards East Coast people. There's something about like there's just like that vibe.
It's a
It's a
vibe.
vibe for sure.
Yeah. Are you
very
north,
cool.
south? Do you still find your allegiance to the area?
Yeah, I mean, I love going back there. All my family's out here, but I have tons of friends in that area. And I was about 45 minutes from New York City, so I
Okay.
used to spend a lot of time, on
All right,
that
so
side.
more like Giants. and
Yeah,
that. Okay.
exactly.
Got it.
Yeah,
All right.
yep.
All right, well, we'll get a Go Birds in there just for my own. But you finding your way here to California, at what point in your lifespan did you know that wine was your calling?
You know, honestly, it was a little bit serendipitous how I ended up in the wine industry. So when I graduated high school, my family moved to California, and I had no idea I was going to end up in the wine industry. I went to school in the East Bay at St. Mary's College, and I actually started out as a business major. And after about a year, I realized this wasn't really what I wanted to do. I always loved chemistry. My heart was kind of always in chemistry, and so I switched gears, and I moved into chemistry and then added on art as a double major. And, little did I know this was going to be this perfect combination,
Yes.
for my winemaking career. But it wasn't until I graduated from school and started looking for jobs. I ended up finding a listing in the newspaper for a job at Robert Mondavi Winery as a lab technician. And my husband and I had never stepped foot in Napa. We drove out there and, of course, fell in love with it right away. It was beautiful. I got the job, and it was right before the 99 harvest. And I just remember, just in terms of aha moments, I just remember feeling like this energy when harvest started, right? All the trucks are moving around the valley and thinking, this is really cool and different and very different than pharmaceutical jobs and all these other industries I was looking into. And so, for me, it was like a feeling, it was that energy that you get from
just kind of
harvest. I
clicks.
love that adrenaline that comes around every harvest.
It's
So-
almost like you find your tribe, right? You're
yeah,
like, this is where I was meant to be.
Exactly. And it just, from then on, it was like, okay, this is it.
And you still feel that way?
I do. It's funny. I get excited for harvest every year. It's still my favorite time of the year. It really is. I love the team. I have a great team. People that I've worked with for a long time, and a lot of new faces too. But it's that energy. It fills the valley, and it's kind of infectious. You know? And so I love that.
And all roads always lead back to Robert Mondavi somehow.
Yeah. I mean, right? There's so many. It's such a great training ground, and they're just pioneers in the industry. And it was a a really incredible journey for me to go from Mondavi and then over to Duckhorn, and I've been with them ever since then.
Yeah.
So,
And Duckhorn has really brought in some incredible labels into the portfolio.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm a big fan of the old Caleras. Have you dug into some of the...
Caleras are some of my favorite. Mike Waller, so their brand was such a great addition to the Duckhorn portfolio. I love their Pinots, and Mike does such a great job with their wines, and their shards. Yep, no, I'm a huge fan.
What fun to be able to like dip your finger. I mean, I knew you all have separate projects, but hopefully you get to drink around.
We do a ton
the
of
circle.
collaboration. I think that's the cool part about it is just we all have our own, winemaking focus and winemaking team, but we all do a lot of collaborating, and we have a lot of fun together. Yeah, we have a good group for sure.
Any favorite bottles along your journey that back to?
Inside the portfolio or out? Either. So many. I mean, when I was at Mondavi, we used to do this thing where for the harvest party, Geneviève and Gustave used to go into the cellar and pull out these great little fun wines, like Chateau Latour, these like 30, 40-year-old bottles of wine, right?
Yes.
And, back then, I don't think I realized quite what I was drinking, but like, this is amazing. And so now thinking back, it was just really, really neat. I came to Duckhorn definitely for their Merlot program, but I got really excited about our Baronarques cab, which is what we're pouring today, one of our Baronarques cabs for the auction. And it was definitely one of those wines where I kind of was like, okay, this is really a beautiful wine. Just really plush, really fruit forward, but a lot of complexity and deceivingly ageable. Like there's always that fine balance of like making something approachable now, but also having it lay down and cellar really well and age really well. And I think the Baronarques does a great job at that.
Yeah, I think Duckhorn, you guys have always done a great job at really finding that balance of making something that you can enjoy young, but also having the long-term ageability.
Sure.
It's, there's very few wines in the world that can do that, let alone in Napa Valley. So I'm always excited to taste the new vintages, but the wines that we got to open from like early 90s and 80s, amazing stuff.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you weren't around, but.
That was just before my time. Yep, Tom Rinaldi was still making wine there. Yeah.
Well, good.
So,
I hope you're having fun here today. We just stole some fried chicken from Ad Hoc.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have any
I've been making
nibbles?
my way around a little bit. Yeah, there's tons of great food out there. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you get out there. And all
right.
Thanks.
Well, thanks so much for joining me. It was great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks, I will.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, you guys, I had so much fun recording this episode. A huge thanks to all of our vintners and to the woman behind the scenes that you can't see who's often here with me, Ronnie. She has been my right-hand girl this afternoon, so if you can, give her a little love on Instagram. If you guys were joining us with the wine, I hope that you will order a few more bottles of it. You can find it on Wine Access. But if you weren't joining us with that wine, this is your cue to go ahead and sign up for the Wine Club. The Wine Access Unfiltered podcast Wine Club is about to ship another gorgeous shipment of 4 wines. You're going to get those about every other month. It's $120 plus tax, but including shipping, and you're always going to get 10% off of all of your Wine Access purchases. I love selecting these wines, you guys. I love theming the episodes around it. I have so much fun, and I also love seeing how many of you are actually drinking the wines while listening to the episode. It means so much to you, especially when you share it on Instagram. So if you aren't doing that already, make sure you're following us there. Let us know when you're enjoying the wines, and as always, drink in good health. We will see you very soon.